Two people apply for the same job, same resume, same answers in the interview, word for word, same qualifications. One of them gets the offer. And if you ask the hiring manager why, they probably couldn't tell you because they don't even realize it happened. But the research is over 100 years old at this point, and it keeps saying the same thing. The more conventionally attractive person tends to win, disturbingly often. This isn't vanity. It's not something you can just decide to stop doing. It's a shortcut wired so deep into your brain that trying harder doesn't shut it off. Last time, we talked about the fear that controls your shopping cart. This time, we're talking about something that runs even quieter. The thing deciding who you trust, who you hire, and who you fall for, before you've even said a word to them. Back in 1920, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike was studying how army officers rated their soldiers, and he noticed something strange. If an officer thought a soldier looked physically impressive, that same officer would also rate him as smarter, more disciplined, more capable of leading other men, with literally zero evidence for any of it. One trait was quietly rewriting all the others. Thorndike gave it a name, the halo effect. One good quality creates a kind of glow, and that glow spreads over everything else you assume about a person. In 1972, researchers Karen Dion, Ellen Burscheid, and Elaine Walster ran an experiment that's still cited today. They showed people photos, some rated attractive, some average, some not, with no other information at all. And people consistently guessed that the attractive faces belonged to kinder, smarter, more successful people, even better parents. The researchers summed it up in one line: what is beautiful is good. A single photo had rewritten someone's entire personality in the viewer's head in about 2 seconds. Here's the part that makes this even harder to argue with. It's not something you learn by watching TV or scrolling Instagram. Psychologist Judith Langlois ran a series of studies where she showed infants, some as young as a few months old, long before they'd absorbed any culture's beauty standards, pairs of faces rated by adults as attractive or unattractive. The babies consistently looked longer at the attractive faces. They couldn't tell you why. They just preferred them, automatically, before they'd learned a single word. That's the uncomfortable part. This isn't society's fault, at least not entirely. It starts before society gets the chance to teach you anything at all. And here's the part that's a little unsettling. You can't catch yourself doing this. It happens before you're even aware you're thinking anything. The same split second your brain once used to decide if a shape in the grass was a shadow or something that wanted to eat you. Your ancestors didn't have interviews or resumes. All they had was a face and a couple of seconds to decide, friend or danger. A healthy, symmetrical face was a decent clue back then. It often meant good genes, fewer diseases, someone worth trusting. That shortcut never got an update. It just quietly moved into job interviews, courtrooms, and dating apps. This isn't just a fun psychology fact. It shows up in places where it genuinely changes people's lives. One widely cited study on criminal sentencing found that defendants who were rated more attractive got noticeably lighter sentences than less attractive defendants. For similar crimes, similar evidence, similar juries. Nobody wrote attractiveness into the sentencing guidelines. It didn't need to be written down. It was already sitting in the minds of the people making the decision. It gets stranger. In 2009, researchers Alexander Todorov, John Antonakis, and colleagues ran an experiment that ended up in the journal Science. They showed people brief flashes of two unfamiliar political candidates' faces, just 1 second each, no names, no policies, nothing. Just asked, who looks more competent? Their snap judgments predicted the actual outcome of the real elections roughly 70% of the time. Nobody in the study knew who these candidates were, what they stood for, or which party they belonged to. A 1-second glance at a face was outperforming most people's actual research into who they vote for. You'll find the same pattern in hiring, in how teachers grade students, in elections,
and in what researchers casually call the attractiveness premium. Attractive people tend to earn more over their careers, doing the exact same job as everyone else.
Dating apps might be the purest version of this experiment ever run at scale. Researchers analyzing large datasets from online dating platforms have found that messages sent to more conventionally attractive profiles get response rates several times higher than average, even when the actual written message is identical, word for word, sent to different profiles as part of a controlled study. The person reading it isn't responding to wit or personality. They haven't seen either yet. They're responding to a photo and the halo it throws over 3 sentences of text they haven't even processed yet. Which means, in a strange way, the apps didn't invent anything new. They just took Thorndike's officers and soldiers and put the exact same judgment in everyone's pocket, running a few hundred times a day instead of once. None of this means attractive people are doing anything wrong. It means the people judging them are running very old software. Software built for a world with no photographs, no resumes, no way to check anyone's actual history. Just a face, in a few seconds. And the strange part? Just knowing about this bias barely helps. Studies have told people directly, in advance, you're about to be influenced by this. And they still fall for it in blind tests. Knowing the trick exists doesn't turn the trick off. Advertisers figured this out long before psychologists gave it a name. Put an attractive face next to a product, and people unconsciously hand that product all the same qualities the face seems to have: trustworthy, competent, desirable. That's why toothpaste ads use perfect smiles, why banks use warm, trustworthy-looking spokespeople, and why every skincare ad somehow features skin the product itself never actually created. One marketing researcher put it bluntly: we're not selling the product, we're renting the halo. The same glow shows up somewhere you'd never expect: corner offices. Multiple studies on corporate leadership have found that CEOs of major companies are, on average, noticeably taller than the general population. And the gap isn't small. It's not that tall people are better leaders. It's that height quietly reads as authority to the same ancient part of the brain that once judged who could win a physical fight. Nobody puts a height requirement in a job posting for CEO. They don't have to. The glow does the filtering long before the interview.
Social media just turned the volume up. A well-lit, filtered, symmetrical face doesn't earn trust once in one room anymore. It earns it thousands of times a day, from thousands of strangers. And every single one of those quick judgments is still running on the same ancient wiring Thorndike stumbled onto 100 years ago.
So how do you get some control over a bias you can't even feel happening? You can't delete the halo effect.
It fires before you're conscious of anything. But you can change what happens right after it fires. Some companies now try to strip appearance out of decisions entirely wherever they can. One of the clearest examples: orchestras started holding blind auditions, with musicians playing behind a screen so no one can see them. The number of women selected jumped significantly, almost overnight, just by removing the glow from the equation. The fix wasn't willpower. It was structural. Take the face out of the decision, and the bias has nothing left to grab onto. You won't always have a screen to hide behind. So here's the smaller version of the same idea. The next time you find yourself trusting someone instantly, pause for a second and ask, is this actually evidence? Or is this just a glow? Am I convinced by what they said, or by how symmetrical their face is? This isn't a flaw in your character. It's an old survival shortcut, still running in a world it was never designed for. You can't switch it off, but you can learn to notice the exact moment it grabs the wheel. And that noticing is about as close to control as you're ever going to get. Next time, we're looking at why making a simple decision feels so exhausting these days, and the quiet cost every choice takes from you, one decision at a time.
If you're ready to debug your life and reclaim your mind, hit that subscribe button. Every video, we uncover a new hidden code in the things you use, the thoughts you have, and the world you think you know. Until then, keep questioning the code.